Hey guys, it's Chris the Ultimate Recycler. We're back in the emergency storage shed after a trip to the farm. We're up to episode 88 of emptying this shed. We've been working on the shelf behind me. Let's have a look at what we're up to and what treasures we might find today. We have been doing one level at a time on this shelf unit. Probably won't get the whole level done this time because there's a lot crammed in on this shelf. Pretty interesting stuff, pretty varied. We have, I think we'll start from the left. We have an old timber flat belt pulley, a milk or cream separator. It looks like an enamel jug. Not sure what's back in behind that. So, and then we have a radio and some other bits. Let's start with this side. I guess there might be some parts of the separator behind it. Hopefully it's complete. We'll take this through to the bench and we'll have a discussion about it. It looks like this separator is mostly complete because the other bowls are behind it. It's quite heavy, it's cast iron. Speaking of cast iron, we have a bonus cast iron saucepan. No handle, but still quite cool. Here's the bowl for the separator and some other parts. And our enamel jug. Our flat belt pulley. And some probably rear indicators from a Honda, maybe a postie bike. CT90, something like that. Pretty sure they're Honda. That should have a market. Okay, let's sort all this out and work out what value we've got. I don't think I'm keeping anything here. It will all be for sale. Okay, we'll get to the cream separator a bit later because that's most of the parts. Let's deal with these other few things. This is quite an early enamel jug, possibly 1930s or so. You would have found it in a farm type kitchen, maybe for milk, who knows what. It has got a couple of little holes in it, so it's probably really only useful in the garden for a cute plant or something. I'm just going to wash it up. I don't know if the red paint will come off. Someone's obviously painted it red at one stage and most of it's come off. Yeah, I'm not going to go to too much trouble. I might even leave the few blotches on there just for effect. Give that a wash up. Put that in the kitchen room in the shop for 10 bucks, I think. So that's just a wash up. The old timber pulley here, it's for a flat belt drive. It's went on a large keyed shaft. It's got a steel plate each end. I would suggest this was probably off an overhead drive shaft in a machinery workshop or even an old farm workshop or shearing shed where they used to drive some of the equipment from flat belts from a shaft that ran along the top of the shed. Not really much use. The timber's actually not too bad. It's dried out a little and got a few cracks, but it's quite solid. Don't know that anyone will use it particularly, but it's a nice relic from times gone by. I'll just give that a wash just to get the dust off it, basically. We'll put that in the shop for, I don't know, or go $20. Where else would you find one of these? The other odd item here was a cast iron saucepan. And you can tell by the ring that it's not cracked, and these nearly always crack because they're quite thin cast iron. It's lost its handle, unfortunately, but it is in excellent condition. There's no holes in it. And it actually says T&C Clark & Co., quite a famous name for making cast iron pots and things in England. First quality, number 6 pints. So that's its capacity. This is in great condition. It just needs the handle. They had quite a thin steel handle on them, which often rusted around where it fitted, and I think that's what's happened here. Someone may have even had a timber handle in there with a little screw. I'm just going to wash this up again. It can go in the shop for $15. It's a nice rustic piece and it's quite old. These date back to the late 1800s. So yeah, nice piece. Just needs a washing in the shop. Alright, the only other thing we have is this rear indicator assembly from a motorbike. I'm pretty sure it's Honda and I'm pretty sure it's off one of those postie bikes like a CT90 or a CT125. It's in excellent condition. Has a little bit of surface rust to the chrome, but not bad. It still has the rubber mounts there. The lenses aren't cracked. So I think we'll clean this up and we may even eBay it. We'll give it a test to see if the globes work. We'll give it a clean up and I think it will come up really nice, probably good enough to put on eBay. There's got to be collectors out there that need these sort of parts, and the indicators were the first things to break if you drop the bike on its side. So I reckon that could well go really good on eBay. So I'll clean those items up. Let's have a look at the cream separator. Now, it looks to be complete. It's a cast iron gearbox. This part should come off. And there we have that assembly will undo. Oh, there we go, that's actually loose. You often see separator spanners with 2 pins, and that's what they fit. This assembly, oh, it's pretty good inside, has heaps and heaps of, oh, it's missing them all. That's the bottom. There's supposed to be like 20 or 30 little plates that fit in here, and they all sandwich together, and this thing spins at enormous revolutions. Let's locate that in the right spot. I'll put this back on. So I'm not going to sell it as a working unit. It's obviously a bit rusty for that, and it doesn't really matter that the plates are all missing because most people will never know anyway. So this is geared, very highly geared, so that one crank on this handle, oh, it's too tight to move. It does just move. You can see a little bit of movement makes that top piece spin quite fast. I might take that plate off and just spray some spray lube in there, get it working a little bit better so that it's easier to crank. There's a bell on this side that rings, I think, once every second when you're at the right speed. And they separate the cream from the milk. So you hear people call them a milk separator. Well, they're probably more correctly known as a cream separator because that's the end product you get is cream and milk. Whereas at the start you put milk in, even though it's full cream milk. So there's one of the outlets. I think the bottom one would be for the cream. The top outlet here, that should come apart, it's a bit rusted. Fits on here as well. And then there's a little float here. That's often missing, that just sits in the middle. And the bowl goes on top, which you pour the milk into. So it's actually complete as far as visual looks go. I think it probably would have had some sort of tap in the top. We don't have that. But it's a great example. I'm just going to give it a quick clean up. We might take that plate off and lube it and see if we can get it to spin more easily. It's on a ratchet, so it goes backwards. But it's just too hard to crank over as it is. So clean up, we'll give it a bit of a lube. And that's a really nice piece. It'll look great in the shop. Let's take these lenses off here and check the bulbs and make sure it looks okay inside. And then we can give it a good wash up. And I'm going to clean the chrome up with some aluminium foil. If you haven't seen that done, it should bring it up really nicely. But we'll take these lenses off first. Hopefully we don't crack them. They look in good condition. The screws are okay. Oh, beautiful. Nice and clean in there. That bulb looks a bit cloudy. Even the rubber gasket looks good. Fantastic. So we'll give them a wash up separately. Keep our screws separate. I'm pretty sure that bulb's no good. We'll test that one. Good, none of the screws were rusted in. Bit more. And we have a gasket there too. We'll take that off without breaking it, hopefully. And that lens looks great as well. This globe looks good. That one should be okay. Nice and clean in there, no corrosion. All right, we'll get some warm soapy water and we'll give this chrome a good clean up. Okay, I've just got some warm soapy water here. I'm not going to submerge this because I don't really want water going back down the pipes where the wiring goes. But with some aluminium foil on the chrome, it polishes it up beautifully, very easily, and it takes the rust stains off. I can rest the base in there, okay? And it actually shines the chrome up better than you would believe. And it's always quite amazing, areas that you think are rusted quite badly. This one's not too bad, but it takes just about all of the rust stains off it. And it's a great way to restore chromed surfaces without having the expense of re-chroming them. Of course, if it is too badly rusted, it won't clean it up. Depends on the finish you want, really. But this is a fairly quick way of restoring chrome that's only got a little bit of surface rust on it. So I'll work away at this. and I'll find another globe for it and I'll show you when it's finished, and we'll give it a quick test to make sure the globes or the whole wiring system works. Alright, so I've cleaned these lights up. They probably look better in the other room rather than in here. The lighting in here is never really good for filming, but they cleaned up quite well. I replaced one of the globes that was blown, and I have 6 volts on these test leads. So let's see if we can get them to light up. And they earth through the frame. There we go. And the other side. Excellent. So they're indicators. They are in excellent condition. Other than the only rust that I didn't clean up very well was just inside the brackets here. You probably can't see it in here, but I couldn't get in there to scrub it. And also the surface rust is a bit thicker in there. But really, otherwise, these would pretty much go on a restored bike and look the part just as they are. Back to this separator now. I have given it a bit of a wash up, and I'll probably spray it with a clear lacquer shortly just to give it a bit of a gloss. It'll give it a nicer finish, I think. Let's see if we can undo this plate. Hopefully the screws all undo okay. Now, it probably should have oil in the gearbox. Hopefully it doesn't leak any out. It's probably empty, unless it's just a grease type setup. It's going to have a small pinion wheel and a large gear to achieve the high ratio. All right, these are coming out well. The plate's going to be stuck on probably with a gasket. Hopefully we don't get oil everywhere. Let's just prepare just in case. Now, oh, there we go. That was pretty easily. Oh, okay. So I think there is a thin gasket around there. It didn't break. That's good. We have a brass bevel gear in here, and it actually looks good. There's no rust in any of it. It clearly doesn't have a sump. I guess you were just supposed to put a bit of oil in somewhere, probably through the top. Yeah, that's just an oiler, and it would drip straight onto the brass gear here. But I don't know what's supposed to oil the actual bushes. I don't think they're bearings. It just goes through a bush because it doesn't really, the middle shaft doesn't spin that fast. We'll get a bit of spray in there and see if it'll free up. Just a bit of WD-40, not an ideal lubricant, but it'll serve our purpose. And we're going to have to try and maneuver it around a bit. That's actually feeling freer already. I think our trouble is probably lubrication in the end bushes rather than the actual gear. Let's see if we can crank the handle better now. Oh, that's going better. It just takes a lot to move. Well, that's building up some speed now. And we get the bell. It's not a very good bell. There it goes. All right, I'm not going to put a bit of lube here because I want to spray it with clear lacquer and I don't want it to be oily. But that certainly works better than it did. You just really need a lot of power to crank it over. Oh, speaking of oily, I've got some splatter down here now. All right, that's in pretty good condition inside. Let's put the cover back on. Okay, let's finish up this video now with everything washed up and presentable. How good did that separator clean up, hey? Just the clear lacquer gives it a really nice finish. It still has the original paint. In fact, it still has quite a bit of the original artwork around it. And I even gave the little plaques a little bit of a polish. So it's a crown separator, and there's an agent for them in Melbourne, or there was, made in Sweden. And there's another little plaque up the top here. Crown Dahlia. There you go. And we can read the revs. 60 revs per minute of the crank. So there you go. It's a 17-gallon separator. So 60 revs per minute of the crank would give you a bell every second so that you can gauge the speed. But it cleaned up really well. The galvanised parts, just the clear lacquer gives them a nice finish. So I'm really happy with that. It's going to make a great display in the shop, and it does actually crank around. And it would probably still work if we got some of those little plates for the inside mechanism. I like the Greek key design. Still got the original gold on that. And as you can see, some of the original pinstriping around the base. So nice piece. I'm going to go 125 on that in the shop, and I reckon that will sell pretty quickly. The other items cleaned up okay. I took some of the red paint off that jug, but I left a bit on there. The cast iron saucepan cleaned up well. I didn't spray this with clear lacquer. I could have, but you can see the bottom's much easier to read now, even though it's upside down. The timber pulley cleaned up nicely. It's a really nice old timber. I'm not sure what timber it would be, but it's got a lovely grain in it. So we might get our $20 for that. And I'm going to put these indicator lights on eBay at some stage. I'm reckoning, I think I'll start them at $50. It may well go higher. I did actually see one of the frames on their own sell for $80. It was a buy it now, so it's always a bit hard to judge whether that's a realistic price or not. But hopefully someone who's restoring one of those could use that particular part. I'm pretty sure it's the rear indicator assembly, because that would go over the mudguard and it bolts either side of the frame. But they do have a similar setup at the front of them. So our notepad then gets a total of $215. Not bad for half a shelf. I'm very happy with that. We have some good stock in the shop this weekend, and I kind of hope the separator doesn't sell too quickly. It's going to look really nice in the window. And speaking of eBay, in our last episode of the Emergency Storage Shed Cleanout series, we had a couple of radios. We had the Bakelite one, which I said $30, sold first day in the shop. The lady was wrapped. I think she was just going to use it as an ornament rather than restore it. And the transmitter we put on eBay, I went for a $60 opening bid, which we got. And the guy's coming to pick it up tomorrow. He's already paid me. So take the fees off. I still make at least $50, a little bit over $50, which I valued it at. So very happy with that. Found a couple of good homes for those things very quickly. So that's good. With the total from this lot, we're now at 215. Takes us over $14,000. $14,155 out of that shed. We'll keep forging ahead. This was only half a shelf. We'll do the other half next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Bye for now.